Hello everyone and welcome back to Versus, the show that takes artistic achievement and tosses it into a pit from which only one movie, franchise, character, I think we had animals at one point emerge as winners. I think a video game once one time. Today's competition is unlike any other, and I'll tell you why. It's because we're featuring a smash-up between 4 different iterations of the same character. Relax, Batman. Take 5, Superman. Y'all are great, thanks for all the lives you saved. But right now in the spotlight, it's the Incredible Hulk, also known as Hulk, or Dr. Banner, Bruce, sometimes David, Bruce, or if you know him well enough, Big Guy.
Hey, Big Guy.
He's also saved tons of lives, fought on a team known as the Avengers, and has racked up the largest cleanup bill in Earth history. But hey, that's why we pay taxes. All 4 primary players of Bruce Banner / the Hulk will be competing today, and from the pile, one will be crowned champion and advance to play the Jolly Green Giant in the next round. In one corner, we have Lou Ferrigno, who popularized the comic book character in the 1970s on the Incredible Hulk TV show, and the only one of our competitors to not borrow CGI to enhance his biceps.
Far out!
In the next corner, it's Eric Bana, who appeared in the 2003 Ang Lee directed The Hulk film. 5 years later, that Hulk would be reinvented to be incredible once more and enter the MCU. That version was played by Edward Norton, who was then replaced by our still current Hulk, Mark Ruffalo.
That guy's brain is a bag full of cats. You could smell crazy on him.
Lots of acting chops and abs amongst these 4 fellows, and they really make you believe that purple pants could be that stretchy.
Your next man, stretchy.
Thanks. Very sticky.
Here's how we'll determine a winner. Round 1, box office. Round 2, tomato meter / audience score. Round 3, cultural relevance. Round 4, Highlander. And then we'll do a wild card round that sounds redundant because in every round we have multiple incarnations of a guy who turns into a huge green wild animal, but lately he's not only been domesticated, he's actually willing to take selfies with astonished fans.
Say green.
Green.
Green. Did you get that?
The character was the co-creation of writer Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby, and for all the love that we rightfully give Lee for his tremendous cameos in the MCU flicks, did you know Jack Kirby cameoed in the No Escape episode of the 1970s TV program? And that was decades before the futuristic dystopian Ray Liotta prison movie No Escape came out. Jack Kirby, well ahead of his time. Well, my heart rate's starting to climb, so it's high time to get this show on the road before I bust my way out of the studio and pile on Sokovia. Let's get it on. Round 1, box office. I just realized that I'm screwed regardless of who wins this matchup because every actor that plays the Hulk is either bigger than me, taller than me, arguably handsomer than me, or can back squat my house. So a special apology to Lou Ferrigno just in case this round doesn't go to you. We don't have a ton of ratings data from the 1970s to pump up his claim to round 1, but I'll tell you what I am gonna do. He gets a quarter of the credit from the Incredible Hulk's box office for that stellar cameo, and he's also great in I Love You Man as himself. So I'm gonna add that box office total of $93 million to his earnings here. It still might not matter. In fact, I have a feeling that Lou, Edward, and Eric are all gonna be duking it out for second place in round 1.
Why the f would anyone get in a fight with Lou Ferrigno?
But we'll honor the spirit of any given Sunday where special players make special plays and upsets can happen. Could it be a big upset W for the Hulk from 2003? Well, despite it failing to launch a franchise of its own, it still grossed $245 million worldwide, so that's a big number to topple. Then in 2008, The Incredible Hulk got a big boost from the runaway success that was Iron Man blasting the MCU into the stratosphere, and the big fella consumed $265 million in popcorn munchies. But that's the only outing that Norton and Bana had as the famous green alter ego. Lou Ferrigno, however, what he lacks in box office, he makes up for with made-for-TV movies. Now relegated to the Hallmark Channel during the season of giving, but back in the day, movies on TV were all the rage.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
That rage was literal when it comes to Lou Ferrigno films, starting out with an origin story movie in 1977 that accompanied the hit TV show, which would finally end its run in 1982. Then from 1988 to 1990, we were treated to a trilogy of hulking. The Return, The Trial, and The Death of the Incredible Hulk. If only they got a big screen release, but even all the Nielsen boxes in the world wouldn't have been enough to take this round from Mark Ruffalo, who made his debut as Hulk with a tiny little 2012 movie called The Avengers. An Avengers movie has never made less than $1.4 billion worldwide, and that low bar, if we can even call it that, was set by Age of Ultron. The OG Avengers movie hauled in $1.5 billion, Infinity War raked in over $2 billion, and Endgame was just shy of $2.8 billion, stating a good case for being the highest grossing picture ever. If you still like math, here's some more advanced calculus. Ruffalo appearances as the Hulk total $8.62 billion, aided by Thor Ragnarok, and he averages $1.7 billion every time he splits his pants. I know the 2003 film has its supporters. I really like the 2008 version, and Lou Ferrigno is the actual embodiment of the character, but Mark Ruffalo is over here making Scrooge McDuck look like a peasant. He takes the round convincingly and gets a 1-point lead over his fellow Hulksters.
I smashed you.
Yeah, sure.
Round 2, tomato meter / audience score. You know, for a guy who's already on substances banned by professional sports leagues, or maybe it's the gamma rays that keep Tom Brady so youthful? It's almost as though the Mark Ruffalo Hulk is on double steroids thanks to his being in the MCU. It wasn't a whole cinematic universe yet when Edward Norton accidentally tainted some soda, and Eric Bana's Hulk emerged when we were still figuring out how to make these comic books into lasting big screen properties. Bana and Norton only have one shot in this round, as they were only in one film as a version of the Hulk each, and Ferrigno has plenty of small screen achievements, but can that translate to tomato meter success? It's time for an executive decision. To level the playing field in this round, I will attempt something never before seen on Versus. As the host, I am judge, jury, and Judy of this contest, so I propose a Hulk team-up for this round only. It's Mark Ruffalo and his films as Hulk versus the combined might of all three opponents. Enemies will become friends, and if they defeat Ruffalo, each of them are going to get a point, and we'd all be tied up. That's going to be easier said than done, however, because these Marvel Cinematic, now multiverse movies tend to at least do well with the fans, and usually the critics too. So we'll start with the Hulk from 2003. And the news is good on the tomato meter, because we got freshness, thanks largely due to Velvet Revolver on the soundtrack. That film rested 62% on the TM, and then Edward Norton upped the ante all the way up to 67% for The Incredible Hulk. Why is that always considered one of the weakest MCU movies? I liked you.
Good.
And now the disappointing news. Lou Ferrigno's hulking didn't register as fresh in the veggie patch, and as the TV movies continued, they got more rotten. By the time The Death of the Incredible Hulk dropped in 1990, it was down to 20%. The audience score does improve for Lou, as he can boast about a 53% average for all of his hulking in TV episodes and movie events. Edward Norton also improves with The Good Folks of Earth up to 70%, so we're looking strong here. Oh no. Eric Bana as the Hulk just didn't connect with fans the same way it did with critics, and the 2003 venture is only at 29% on the audience score. Did you people not appreciate both Nick Nolte and Jennifer Connelly in one movie together? So all told, we toss all three actors into a Vitamix. It makes a smoothie that is borderline fresh for its averages, but the bar has been set not particularly high enough for Mark Ruffalo. But still, this is why you play the games, and now the Ruffalo Hulk will treat his brethren about as nicely as he did Loki at the end of the first Avengers movie.
Puny God.
The big guy's worst output still would have been the best score for any of his three competitors. That was Age of Ultron, and it's residing at 76% fresh on the tomato meter and 82% for the audience score. From there, it's all sunny skies, as Endgame is the high mark on the Meter de Tomato at 94%, and Infinity War and the OG Avengers are tied for the audience top score at 91%. And the averages, well, they sing the same song. Ruffalo is at an 88% on both metrics, so if you like numerology, have at it. And it appears that Mark Ruffalo really likes winning. He just added another point by taking this round, and suddenly he's on the verge of a skunk. It's 2 for him, zip for everyone else.
Hey, big guy.
Hey, little girl.
What have you been up to?
Winning.
Round 3, cultural relevance. Finally, a break for the earlier Hulks. Mark Ruffalo has had the luxury of entering a company on the second floor as the elevator was shuttling at light speed into the cosmos. But laying the groundwork for his emergence was 3 predecessors who all can claim a significant measure of cultural influence. Lou Ferrigno birthed the fella in 3 dimensions, Eric Bana helped pave the way for future comic book films, and Edward Norton nurtured the MCU before we ever had met Thor, Captain America, or Black Widow. Back in 2003, we were cooking with a few popular comic book properties that were flapping their wings into full-fledged franchises. Spider-Man and the X-Men, and a little bit of Blade were in the midst of setting the template for future characters to follow. The Hulk won't ever be confused as mighty as those other flicks, but it was impactful nonetheless. The CGI was a step forward at the time, and when the trailer hit during the Super Bowl, it set records when the internet was still that thing that took insanely long to buffer. Iron Man happened in the summer of 2008 and was a revelation. The anticipation was somewhat, but the end result was magic, and the word of mouth started to spread that we have a new player in Tony Stark who's so cool, suave, and magnetic, we could really build a whole universe with this dude. But you need help. And Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk was rubber-stamped as a charter Avenger thanks to the post-credit scene that he wasn't even in. Tony Stark shows up to pound a few beverages with General Ross, and the rest is history. If Ruffalo does have a leg to stand on here, it's gotta be how his Hulk has shown the audience the trauma that one should endure if they get on the wrong side of experimental technologies. Sure, it's fun to smash stuff, but we also see the human cost of not being able to control oneself. Innocent folks get caught in the midst of a jolly green rage, and Dr. Banner is left to wrestle with the aftermath. His depression is noted repeatedly throughout the MCU flicks, and it always feels like an important message without being overly preachy. But if you're singing the gospel of the Incredible Hulk, it's always going to start with Lou Ferrigno. When he auditioned for the role on a whim, he was busy training for the 1977 Mr. Olympia bodybuilding contest. He booked the role, and before we continue with his lineage, the ultimate winner of that 1977 match was not Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did win every year from 1970 to 1975, and then again in 1980. But in 77, it was Robbie Robinson taking the over 200-pound title. The more you know. Meanwhile, on TV, Hulk was a sensation. Pioneering makeup and camera tricks delighted audiences that had grown up as first-generation Incredible Hulk enthusiasts. Remember, the character had debuted only 15 years prior to the TV show. And although its run ended in the early 80s, the movies continued into the 1990s, and it was always Ferrigno flexing for the cameras. But perhaps the biggest impact Lou had is also the most obvious. Dude was actually that huge. Every other Hulk was almost all CGI. That stuff wasn't around back when Fleetwood Mac was having too much fun in the studio, so you had to be meticulous in casting. They knocked it out of the park with both Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno, and the fact that Ferrigno maintained Hulk's shape for almost 15 years is remarkable. But actually, have you seen the guy recently? I think he still can suit up for another season.
Stop calling me Hulk. I'm a person, okay?
The history of the Incredible Hulk is a tale well told by four very different yet all accomplished thespians, but on page one, it's Lou Ferrigno as the perfect embodiment of that alter ego. Of course, a big shout out to Bill Bixby for playing Dr. David Bruce Banner. It's the best combo role since David Prowse and James Earl Jones teamed up to play that really bad father in a galaxy far, far away. Ferrigno gets the W here and is on the board, but Ruffalo still has the lead by a point. Round 4, Highlander. No, none of these dudes have been in a Highlander movie yet, and sadly that universe doesn't have much hope of ever crossing over with the MCU. I know you'd pay to watch it, so would I, we'd all pay money. But that doesn't mean we can't borrow an all-time movie quote from Highlander and incorporate it into this Incredible Versus episode. Seriously, it is going to be legal to do this. I asked my lawyer, who happens to be a Hulk her damn self.
Just want to be a normal, anonymous lawyer.
I'm excited about She-Hulk. The quote is, "There can be only one," and it applies to this round thusly. One flick from each competitor will be accepted as your best work, and then it's going to be that one movie that dukes it out against the fellow bests of the best. For Eric Bana and Edward Norton, film selection is going to be a pretty easy task. They each have one Hulk movie in their filmography, so that's what we're going to go with, the Hulk and the Incredible Hulk. Choice matters when it comes to Ferrigno and Ruffalo, or as I call them, Ferrifavlakgano. For Lou, let's saddle him with the 1977 The Incredible Hulk TV movie that acted as a pilot for the ensuing series run. And for Ruffalo, I'm gonna go with the lesser appreciated Avengers movie, Age of Ultron. Why? Well, he's a great side character in the Avengers, has some epic highlights, and is the comedic relief of Thor Ragnarok.
What are you, crazy? Yes!
Okay, he's one of many comedic reliefs in Thor Ragnarok. And as for Infinity War and Endgame, well, he's only really Hulk for Endgame, and it's such a stacked card that no one individual can stand out. But in Age of Ultron, we get it all. A fun opening adventure, the Hulkbuster fight, the aftermath that reveals the tortured soul of Dr. Banner, and some real hard questions posed by the film in regards to the human cost of being a world saver. If Ferrigno won the cultural relevance round, and he did, well done, Lou, then you'd have to consider his inaugural entry into the world as a valid contender. And as a story, it does hold up quite well. We're introduced to Banner as he's dreaming about losing his wife in a car accident, a reality that he must wake up to every morning. Further frustration lies in his not being able to summon super strength despite testing some gamma radiation on himself. That is, until he gets angry with car trouble during a lightning storm, and it happens. The Incredible Hulk appears, and the rest is history. If Ang Lee's The Hulk won't go down as a great film, it should at least be remembered as an ambitious effort. Lee himself was hot off the rousing success achieved by Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and he looked at this Hulk story as one that focuses on how strained familial ties can affect us far more than appearances can intimate. Here, it's the inner turmoil that causes a hulking out episode, and then we also have that military angle that allows us to witness Hulk toss tanks like they're softballs over a canyon. It's fun stuff. There were similar elements of militaristic control and psychodrama stemming from the failed experiment in 2008's The Incredible Hulk, but the film plays much more as a solid origin story, a foundation from which a wealth of stories could spring, even if the ensuing tales would be told by a different actor playing Dr. Banner/Hulk. But if Ruffalo had the advantage of building off of Norton's hard work, he forgets the cardinal rule of this show. The host really likes a good origin movie. I mean, really likes it. So here we meet Banner as a man without a home, as he's been holed up in various locations, dodging the might of the United States Army. He doesn't want to be all that he can be. He wants to go back to who he used to be. But soon enough, he's discovered and pursued by General Ross, who happens to have a daughter that Banner's sweet on, and then a more sinister presence appears, a soldier desperate to stay relevant on the battlefield, who will do anything to transform from a guy who looks remarkably like Tim Roth into Abomination. And that might be the separation the 2008 flick needs to get a W here. The struggle of Banner Hulk is well told in each iteration, but it wasn't until this version that we were treated to a brawl echoing shades of Godzilla tussling with King Kong. We're rooting for Norton to get a breakthrough that's finally going to heal him, all the while keeping our fingers crossed for a showdown for the ages with Hulk smashing stuff against Abomination. It's a largely forgotten building block of the MCU, but here it finally gets its run. The Incredible Hulk from 2008 scores its first point of the day and cuts the lead of Ruffalo again to 1.
Hulk! Smash!
And now it's time for the wild card round, iconic moments. Now, finally, we get to celebrate all the destruction, the carnage, the wrecked cities, the occasional building accidentally falling on someone's head, the exciting moments that we love about Hulk in any generation. And just for funsies, to make it as hotly a contested matchup as superhumanly possible, Hulk team up. Yep, I'm pinning Ruffalo against his 3 combatants once again, making 2 teams that are actually pretty even in this deciding round. Eric Bana is our only green lug that hasn't scored a point yet, even though he might be the most gigantic Hulk of the 4 in contention. Nick Nolte pitches in well too, as the Hulk versus Dad fight is a highlight, and yes, anytime you gamma ray a poodle, I'm gonna keep watching the movie. Hulk tossing tanks and playing with missiles is also a good time, and who knew that he could leap like that? It's super athletic for being that big. But Mark Ruffalo can counter here with just the Avengers. If he wasn't the biggest piece of that puzzle, he was definitely the most enjoyable.
Smash.
While Tony and Cap have a contest involving bathroom stalls, and Black Widow and Hawkeye have some nice moments, it's Hulk who shows up and delivers in the clutch more than anyone else. He saves Iron Man's tuchus during the Battle of New York, then he cuts off Loki mid-sentence by tossing him around like my dog would a new toy. Oh, and the scrimmage against Thor? The casual knocking out of frame of Thor by Hulk works visually and comedically. The battles and personal anguish rage on in Age of Ultron, but sometimes it's the quiet scenes that are the most iconic. Just ask the OG Incredible Hulk, hitchhiking as we end an episode, hoping to just stay even keel. A lonely man who knows he can't stay in one place for too long, lest he fight every bull across the country. Seriously, that cannon features a great contest against a bull.
Will somebody tell me what the hell's going on here?
Edward Norton's Hulk gets a climactic heavyweight bout worth the build-up, but the chase scene when the government first locates him might be the best of the bunch. The look on Tim Roth's face as he sees the impossible inside of a soda bottling plant is a mix of terror and I found my purpose, and the sequence is riveting. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe loves 2 things above all others: moments of levity and epic battles. And Ruffalo gets to participate in both as we clean up a decade of greatness with Avengers Endgame. The final battle moments will obviously live on in comic book film lore for ages, and we also have a Hulk under control of his powers, who's even willing to say hi to adoring fans as he takes down a stack of flapjacks. Even in Infinity War, when the whole turning green thing has been so stifled below sea level that Banner can't summon him even when he needs to, works for both humor and suspense purposes. But if it's comedy and action you like, look no further than Thor Ragnarok. Thor being tossed into the pit against his friend from work is just such a good time. It's a feast for the senses and the funny bone. And a petulant toddler-brained Hulk works for both ha-has and proving that this guy can actually develop into an actual person one day that could control that anger and harness the full potential of the gamma radiation without all those pesky downsides. Even teamed up as one giant unit, Ferrigno, Bana, and Norton just don't have the juice to take down the spoil of riches bestowed upon us by Ruffalo's iteration.
You guys are so screwed now!
The current Hulk wins the iconic moments round and thus takes the match. I feel really good about this ruling simply because all 4 of our competitors, they're not going to remember any of this. I'm sure they're watching, but tomorrow they're going to wake up in the woods shirtless with shredded pants and wonder what the hell happened. It's going to be our little secret because I don't want to make any of them angry. And once again, it's worth remembering that we don't get any of these Hulks without the genius of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno pioneering the way for all to follow. And as always, this is just my opinion. Now it's your turn, Earthlings. Hit me up on social media with your take at Mark Ellis Live and defend your choice with vigor. And make sure you keep it tuned right here to Rotten Tomatoes for all the latest in the realm of movies, TV, and any other place where a Hulk might show up. Thanks for watching Versus. I'm your host, Mark Ellis, and yes, I will be hitchhiking home.